Now, meantime, President Trump says he's spoken with Chinese President Xi Jinping, quote, numerous times on tariffs, but he was vague about if he's spoken with him since the trade war broke out. Beijing has denied any negotiations are currently underway and have called for abolishing unilateral tariffs. Now, the uncertainty has put the U.S. stock market on a roller coaster these past few weeks. You're looking at a live look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now. It was in green for most of the week, but as you see this morning, it is in the red, pulling back about 170 points. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is at the New York Stock Exchange for us this morning. Kelly, great to see you. How is Wall Street digesting the changing headlines on tariffs between China and the U.S.?
Minute by minute, Errol, just like the rest of us. You mentioned the Dow. I've actually got a big board over here that I can kind of see all the indexes. At the NYSE, each of them are down about 0.5% to 1%. Not that much. I think right now you're kind of seeing investors digest the back and forth. President Trump saying that there have been negotiations and calls with China, China coming out and saying that there haven't been. Of course, we also heard from the president yesterday, or rather Besant yesterday, that there may be a deal with South Korea next week. So what I would say is right now Wall Street is digesting things minute by minute. I spoke to a few traders this morning to take their temperature, and they said the same thing. On a Friday at the New York Stock Exchange, things can change very quickly, especially since we have some consumer sentiment data coming out.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Kelly, China seems to be digging in week by week. Overnight, it canceled some U.S. shipments of pork. Last week, we saw the cancellation of Boeing aircraft from the U.S. Help us understand, if you can, what's behind this recent move surrounding pork and how that could impact farmers in the U.S.
So this is more retaliation. We have seen the actual tariffs reach such a high percentage. Remember, the United States has a 145% tariff on China. China has a 125% tariff on the U.S. It is not sustainable where it is right now, but to keep moving that higher and higher. So you are seeing China take other steps to retaliate. This most recent shipment of canceling, I believe it was 12,000 metric tons of pork. That is the highest cancellation that we have seen from China since back in COVID, when there were all those supply chain disruptions. In terms of what it means for U.S. farmers, it's not good. China is the third largest market for the U.S., and so it is very important for these farmers to continue to have access to these markets. But remember, the last time around during the first Trump administration, this technique, this retaliation, really hurt the American agriculture and farming industry to the point where the government did need to step in and give them subsidies. So we haven't reached that point yet, but another escalation from Beijing, Errol.
Yeah, we'll keep watching all this closely. Kelly O'Grady on the trading floor, just on a balcony above. Thanks so much. For more on Trump's trade war with China, let's cross over now to White House reporter Willie James Inman. Willie, good morning to you. So fact check everything for us. President Trump says he has been speaking with Xi. China says we are not currently speaking directly. So where do negotiations stand today?
Hey there, Errol. Good to be with you on this Friday morning. Well, the president, as you mentioned, said that he is, in fact, communicating with the Chinese in terms of that trade standoff that both nations really just haven't budged quite yet. We've seen those tariffs, as Kelly and you were talking about, go up to 145% on the U.S. side, 125% on the Chinese side. But the president talked about this a little bit ago before he left for Rome. Take a listen to what he said.
I think the tariff plan is doing very well. We're resetting the table. We're going to make our country very rich, very, very rich. It's already happening.
And the president wouldn't elaborate in further detail as to when or if he spoke with President Xi of China. Remember, the Chinese say that negotiations aren't happening. They are essentially saying that those leader-level conversations aren't happening, but the White House maintains that they're moving forward with those negotiations. On top of that, we have talks with other nations, including South Korea. Kelly mentioned South Korea as well. We just got a statement from the U.S. Trade Representative's office, and it essentially said that those technical conversations will play out next week with South Korea, so we could potentially see some movement there. On top of that, you have another Asian nation, Vietnam, that is moving closer to negotiations. Well, I should say negotiations are ongoing, but closer to working out a deal with the United States. So it's not just China, but of course, hundreds of other nations that the White House has to work out a deal with, because President Trump has announced those reciprocal tariffs basically on all U.S. trading partners. He was talking about that yesterday with Norway, although in the case of Norway, Errol, the president says that they have a trade surplus with the United States, so perhaps no hard feelings there with the nation of Norway.
Yeah, and the president also said of that surplus, we need to get some of that. So it kind of is curious considering what that really means. I want to ask you, Willie, about immigration, because a federal judge ordered the Trump administration now to return a second migrant deported to El Salvador. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that's right. This is the case of a 20-year-old Venezuelan man who was living in Maryland, who had a pending asylum application. Now, a federal district judge saying this essentially violates a settlement agreement that allows for migrants who have a pending asylum application to not be deported. So this federal judge ordering the Trump administration to facilitate this man's return. We, of course, know that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was sent to El Salvador, was wrongly sent to El Salvador. The administration admitted that that was a mistake. But we haven't seen any movement there in terms of the Trump administration looking to get Abrego Garcia from El Salvador back to the United States. The Trump administration maintains that he is a violent criminal. His family and his lawyers say otherwise, that is not the case. We did, of course, see Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland visit with Abrego Garcia and speak with him. And the argument that Van Hollen has been saying is that Abrego Garcia and other migrants deserve due process. They deserve to fight their case in court if the Trump administration tries to deport them to a different country.
Yeah, really important updates there. Willie, James, Inman, thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend.
You bet.